According to Pew Research Center, approximately 95% of U.S. citizens own a cell phone of some kind. There are so many benefits to owning a cell phone. These benefits include, but are not limited to, access to maps and directions, opportunities to communicate with friends and family, and access to a seemingly unlimited supply of information. While there certainly are benefits to these devices, there are also negative consequences to unchecked usage. Today I'm going to share some phone statistics with you, speak on consequences of smartphone usage, and share a couple ideas on how to most effectively use your smartphones without letting them control you. My goal is to convince you to put down your smartphones and rather than use them mindlessly and continuously, use them purposefully and at needed times. According to a study conducted by Provision Living, the average American spends about 5.4 hours on their smartphones. The boomer generation spends approximately 5 hours and millennials spends 5.7. Overall, social media takes up the bulk of smartphone screen time. Americans spend an average of 64.5 minutes a day on Facebook and 48 minutes on Instagram. Millennials text more than boomers, with 48 minutes per day compared to 30 minutes per day, and boomers spend 43 minutes per day on email compared to millennials who spend less than 10 minutes per day. According to the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, working individuals spend on average 8.5 hours a day at work, 5.3 hours on leisure activities such as watching TV or exercising, 2.5 hours a day on household activities such as cleaning, lawn care, cooking, and 10 to 48 minutes on reading, and 38 minutes per day on socializing or communicating. With these numbers in mind, our phone use comes third to only sleeping and working. With this average of 5.4 hours a day, we are using 22.5% of our day on our phones. That's more than a fifth of our day. In a week, it's almost 38 hours on our phone, and in a month, it's 162 hours. That is almost 7 entire days out of each month spent only on our phones. Now I will discuss some of the consequences of smartphone use, including its consequences on our physical and psychological health, and give some other ideas of things we can do besides being on our phones. My hope is to convince you to use your smartphones when they're necessary and enjoy life beyond just your phone. So, moving on to your psychological health. According to lifehack.org, smartphone use demotes our social interactions. The use of smartphones effectively kills our mood and pace, especially if we're in a group setting. It steals our attention away from other people around us as well as from our surroundings. It also diminishes our cognitive ability in connecting and socializing with other people. This often results in further withdrawing from society and increasing the likelihood of being a shut-in. Countless studies have been conducted regarding how social media affects people. In fact, many researchers have found that the more you use Facebook, the worse you feel, and that quitting social media actually leads to higher levels of well-being. Prior research has shown that the use of social media may detract from face-to-face relationships, reduce investment in meaningful activities, and increase sedentary behavior by encouraging more screen time. This leads to internet addiction and erodes self-esteem through unfavorable social comparison. Self-comparison can be a strong influence on human behavior, and because people tend to display the most positive aspects of their lives on social media, it's possible for an individual to believe that their life is less than another's based on what they see on social media. A very in-depth study done by Harvard Business Review showed that while real-world social interactions were positively associated with overall well-being, the use of Facebook was negatively associated with overall well-being. This provided a strong conclusion, showing that while social media gives the impression that we're engaging in meaningful social interaction, the quality is actually no substitute for the real-world interaction. Smartphone use not only affects our physical and psychological well-being, but also decreases our memory. Smartphones are a very good vehicle for capturing the best and most memorable moments in our lives. They are sometimes a culprit when it comes to memory loss. This is because we are becoming solely reliant on technology to remember things for us. We stop trying to remember them on our own and stop trying to process the memories on our own. Instead, we use our digital photos. Smartphone also weakens our inductive reasoning. It's very convenient to Google the things we don't know and to get an answer in merely minutes. But over-relying on Google and the internet to solve our problems is backfiring on us. Dr. Gordon Pennycook, who has a PhD in cognitive psychology and teaches at the University of Waterloo, expresses that our over-reliance on the internet has diluted our mental intelligence and abilities to logically solve and determine correct answers on our own. This is because we are truly dependent on what the internet gives us, rather than reading about things and coming to conclusions on our own. Mental and psychological health are not the only thing suffering because of our usage of smartphones. Like I mentioned before, our physical health is also suffering. The convenience that smartphones provide eliminates some of the physical activities we do every day and contributes to our destructive, lazy, and procrastinating behaviors. Smartphone reliance allows us to access our favorite movies, games, and social media apps digitally. We are easily able to entertain ourselves, which can then lead to excessive weight gain. This contributes to our sedentary behavior and lack of physical activity, and increases our risk for chronic illness. Smartphone use can also disrupt our sleeping patterns. The blue light emitted from electronic devices disrupts the production of melatonin hormones. And these hormones are the ones that are responsible for promoting sleep. Researchers at the University of California, San Francisco found that longer average screen time was associated with shorter sleep duration and worse sleep efficiency. Smartphone also can lead to increased physical injury. This is because when you are physically less active, the muscles in your body begin to weaken, along with your endurance and immune system. This in turn makes you prone to physical injury. Okay, there's a towel upstairs in the closet, honey. Run upstairs. Run upstairs. Okay, come here. We've all heard about the accidents caused by driving and texting, but accidents can also occur by walking and texting as well because you are distracted from your physical environment. It was also found by researchers at Macomb School of Business that people who kept their phones in another room significantly outperformed the ones who kept them nearby. This shows that iPhones and other smartphones do not help us focus and perform better. Notifications from the phones, however, aren't the only problem. These researchers found that merely having a phone within reach makes it harder to focus because the percentage of the brain actively has to work to not pick up or use the device. It's more of a distraction than a benefit. So, there are other great ways to take a break from your smartphone. This includes going outside to enjoy some physical activity, reading a book, getting a pen and writing, journaling, writing letters to loved ones, spending time on hobbies, bonding with families, pets, and friends. I have found for myself that putting my phone in another room where I can still hear that it rings, but not having to have it close to me to constantly check the notifications has been very helpful. I have also found that setting a time to check social media for a brief period or check my email has also been very beneficial for me. I have seen personally that eliminating social media and unnecessary smartphone use has greatly enhanced my life. It helps me feel more connected to my loved ones, experience better physical and mental health, and be more productive. I hope that you will also Be encouraged to use your smartphones with a purpose and stop allowing them to play such a large role in your life. While they do have many benefits, there are also many consequences that come from unchecked usage. There's so much more to life than smartphones and their